Games, which he led. But Malacanang says the senator should not worry if he has nothing to hide.
Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon. We begin tonight with another stress-inducing forecast for fuel prices. A double-digit increase, particularly for diesel, may once again take its toll on the transport sector. Industry sources this early predict diesel to increase by 9 pesos to 10 pesos per liter next week, while gasoline may increase by 3 pesos and 50 centavos to 4 pesos and 50 centavos per liter. These figures may still change as they were based on the mean of Platts Singapore's 3-day trading data. There are 2 more trading days left. Oil companies are expected to announce their respective oil price adjustments Monday, July 20, before implementing new prices the next day. And then, there's a possibility of a fare increase for public utility vehicles. In an interview on Ted Filon at DJ Chacha sa True FM, LTFRB Chairman Vigor Mendoza said they are studying this as minimum wage earners may now be able to afford a 1 peso fare hike following the recent pay increase. He added that providing a fuel subsidy for PUV operators would cost the government about 2.5 billion pesos. Mendoza said state funds for the subsidy are nearly depleted.
Tinatapos na namin ang pag-aaral ngayon at isasabitin na namin kay Secretary Banoy within the day yung aming rekomendasyon, no? Which is basically, Manong Ted, no, na ipatupad na natin itong fare increase na to considering na umakyat na rin po ang ating minimum wage.
These developments, of course, are a domino effect from the still raging Gulf War. The U.S. military carried out its latest wave of strikes on Iran under the direction of President Donald Trump. The targets included command centers, air defense sites, missile and drone capabilities, and coastal surveillance facilities. The U.S. Central Command said the strikes hit multiple locations, including Bandar Abbas, Iran's main port city on the Strait of Hormuz. And according to President Trump, Iran had again expressed willingness to end the war.
I don't like giving deadlines, but they pretty much know the story. They better behave.
An investigation and not intimidation. This was Malacanang's reply to insinuations a new probe into alleged anomalies in the 2019 hosting of the Southeast Asian Games is meant to silence Senator Alan Peter Cayetano. Cayetano, lead organizer of the Games then, responded with his own challenge to the palace. Mobile journalist Julie Baisa with the story.
Po, mandato naman po ng pamunuan ng NBI na mag-imbestiga kung meron po silang naririnig, nalaman na anomalya. Hindi po kailangang utusan ng Pangulo. Mandato po yan ng NBI, ng CIDG, ng PNP. Trabaho po nila yan.
This is how Malacanang sees the planned reinvestigation into alleged anomalies surrounding the 2019 Southeast Asian Games. Senator Alan Peter Cayetano tagged this as a form of political harassment as he called out the NBI investigation before Wednesday impeachment trial hearing. Cayetano served as the chairman of the Philippine Southeast Asian Games Organizing Committee, which oversaw the biennial regional sporting event. According to Palace Press Officer Claire Castro, it was purely coincidental that NBI Director Melvin Matibag received reports regarding the alleged irregularities in the event's spending at this time. Matibag was in a recent visit to Clark City to inspect the site for the proposed NBI Academy when he got wind of it. Castro also emphasized that as the head of the bureau, Matibag cannot simply turn a blind eye to the reported irregularities. Matibag had earlier disclosed that this involved an alleged 10 billion pesos in unliquidated funds, supposed anomalies in bidding processes, as well as the highly controversial SEA Games cauldron, which reportedly cost 50 million pesos. Castro noted that if there's no wrongdoing, there's no reason for anyone to be afraid. She likewise dismissed speculation that the administration is systematically singling out its critics.
So hindi dapat magkaroon ng reaksyon na dahil iimbestigahan lamang ay sila ay iisa-isahin na. Kapag ganun kasi ang mga pananaw, dapat siguro, sana, ay hindi. Dahil maaari silang pag-isipan na kayo ba'y guilty? So kung wala naman at walang dapat nakatakutan, hindi kailangan ma-intimidate, hindi kailangan na magalit sa anumang pag-iimbestiga.
On Facebook Live July 16, Cayetano says he supports the NBI's investigation.
Sabihin natin sa DOJ, sa NBI at sa Malacanang, di kayo halata. Slight lang, imbestigahan niyo yung Southeast Asian Games. Imbestigahan niyo ng husto, bigay niyo lahat. Tapos, ako naman, 10 ng aming mga kasama na ngayon ay nasa minority, imbestigahan naman namin ang flood control. Deal? Tama-tama, magsosona na ulit. Bigyan natin ng pwedeng pag-usapan ang mahal nating Pangulo.
As he criticized the Marcos administration, Cayetano claimed they already have a list of witnesses for their probe. The now Senate Minority Leader has long maintained that the administration's flood control investigation has been selective, targeting the administration's critics while letting its allies off the hook.
Pagkatapos sabihin na incidental lang dahil yung building, biglang pinawalang sala na ang mga kakampi nila. Tapos sinabi ng DOJ, tama yung investigasyon na yan. Tapos ang Malacanang, naimbestigahan na daw yung sekretary nila pero ako daw, hindi pa.
Cayetano may be referring to Public Works Secretary Vince Dizon. Dizon previously chaired the Bases Conversion and Development Authority, which oversaw the infrastructure for the 2019 SEA Games. But Jose Castro said Dizon had already been investigated by the Ombudsman over the matter and was cleared of wrongdoing. The Office of the Ombudsman also confirmed this in a message to the media, saying the complaint filed against Dizon for alleged irregularities in the construction of the sports facilities had been dismissed in 2021 for lack of evidence. The Department of Justice also defended the timing of the NBI's probe, saying the Bureau's actions are guided solely by its legal mandate and the rule of law. Matibag has since responded to allegations the NBI investigation is meant to disrupt or influence the Duterte impeachment trial.
At wala naman tayong balak na siya ay personalin o anuman. Ang sa akin lang, ang NBI po, we are just doing our mandate. And as always, ang message natin, no one is above the law.
Aside from this, Senator Alan Cayetano is facing an obstruction of justice complaint filed by the Ombudsman by Tindig Pilipinas. The complaint stemmed from his alleged role in allowing Senator Bato de la Rosa to leave the Senate and prevent the serving of the ICC's warrant of arrest. Also named as respondents are Senator Robin Padilla and former Senate Sergeant-at-Arms Mau Aplasca. This is for the shooting incident inside the Senate, which was led by Aplasca, and the use of Padilla's vehicle, which Senator Bato rode in. The Ombudsman said Cayetano has filed this counter-affidavit on the complaint. Padilla and Aplasca, however, have yet to respond. Kapatid Mobile Journal Julie Baiza, we are One News.
Now here's news related to our top story of looming oil price hikes. President Bongbong Marcos announced a fresh set of financial assistance for low-income Filipinos amid continuing tensions in the Middle East. A one-time 2,000 peso aid will be given to 3.5 million member families of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, or 4Ps. Other beneficiaries of the ayuda are 2.5 million families identified as poor or are in danger of poverty based on the community-based monitoring system of the Philippine Statistics Authority. Also qualified to receive assistance are 1.5 million families of low-income workers verified by the SSS. This time, it's not one-off, as they will get 2,000 pesos monthly from July through December, or a total of 12,000 pesos. The aid is under the administration's Unified Package for Livelihood, Industry, Food, and Transport, or UPLIFT. The program aims to protect vulnerable Filipinos from the economic impact of inflation and global conflicts.
Titiyakin ng pamahalaan na maipagkaloob ang tulong na ito na mabilis, maayos at mas maginhawa para sa mga Pilipino sa pamamagitan ng digital na pamamaraan.
And in other news, authorities are stepping up security measures following the deadly school shooting incident in Tacloban last month. The campaign includes so-called active shooter drills. Mobile journalist Jas Paredes with the report.
The deadly shooting at San Jose National High School in Tacloban, Leyte on June 22, which claimed 3 lives and injured 20 others, triggered a wave of shooting and stabbing threats in schools across the country. On July 14, one such threat circulated in various Facebook groups from a fictitious account identified as Lucas Garcia, threatening to attack the students and teachers of Doña Juana Elementary School. However, the Quezon City Police District said it did not monitor any credible threat against the school despite the alleged warning of violence. Intelligence validation and increased police deployment were also conducted in response.
Puntahan po agad nila yung Doña Juana School and nagkaroon ng verification or confirmation. Upon coordinating with the parents and the teachers na nakareceive po nung message na yun, nalaman nila na hindi naman po doon nanggaling yung message na.
Based on the initial investigation, authorities believe the message may not have been intended for the school due to the way Doña was spelled in the text. However, the QCPD assured the public that the thread was thoroughly assessed and that security measures remain in place. This is just one of the many threats reported following the Tacloban school shooting. As part of their preparations, schools are now conducting not only regular earthquake drills but also active shooter drills. These drills are designed to prepare students and school personnel for the possibility of an active shooter incident by teaching the appropriate actions to take during an emergency. Meanwhile, Police Brigadier General Randy Glenn Silvio, Director of the Quezon City Police District, said they have also implemented student security protocols in coordination with the Quezon City Local Government Unit.
4 na senaryo yon. At ang gusto kasi ni Mayor Joy Belmonte na may train talaga yung mga estudyante, parang yung reaction natin sa quick drill. Dapat ganon din ang natin sa mga estudyante. Alam nila kung anong gagawin in case merong active shooter, stabbing incident, bomb threat, and yung riot inside the classroom.
According to Silvio, it is important for students to undergo simulations and training.
Before, during, and after. So yung before, we'll train, organize yung isang klase, organize, then train and equip. So i-train natin yung training, yun yung simulation exercise. Tapos yung equipment, yung lahat ng nandun sa loob ng classroom, including your bags.
He also emphasized the importance of students being knowledgeable of the immediate action drills, followed by a debriefing to assess areas for improvement in schools' emergency response. Meanwhile, strengthened security measures have also been implemented in schools as part of the DILG Safer Metro Manila Plan, which aligns with the government's broader Safer Cities and Safer Communities initiative.
Since yung in-implement natin yung Safer Metro Manila, ang instruction po ng ating SILG na 1 police officer and 1 barangay tanod ang magbabantay po sa schools natin.
In addition, all station commanders are part of Viber groups that include representatives from every school to ensure faster coordination and response during emergencies. For now, Silvio recommends that active shooter drills be conducted every quarter so that schools remain prepared for any potential threat. Meanwhile, the QCPD will conduct an active shooter drill and other emergency drills in coordination with the DILG and the Quezon City Local Government Unit on Friday, July 17. Kapatid Jas Paredes, we are One News.
You're watching the big story on One News. When we return, we have the message of a fisher folk to graduates of UP Visayas. You don't want to miss those inspiring words, so stay tuned.
Huwag ninyong kalimutan na marami kayong matutunan sa mga taong hindi nagkaroon ng pagkakataong makapag-aral tulad ko. Sapagkat ang karunungan hindi lamang sinusukat sa diploma. Sinusukat din ito sa malasakit sa integridad at sa paglilingkod. Saan man kayo dalhin ng inyong profesyon, huwag na huwag ninyong kalimutan na ang pinakamalaking sukatan ng edukasyon ay hindi kung gaano kataas ang inyong narating, kundi gaano karaming tao ang inyong itinindig.
Tama. Fisherfolk leader Pablo Rosales there of Pangisda, Pilipinas. He was the chosen speaker in the 47th commencement exercises of the University of the Philippines, Visayas. Several senators are now calling for an inquiry into rising electricity bills. This as consumers continue to complain about high power costs and alleged billing irregularities. Separate resolutions filed by Senators Bam Aquino, Risa Ontiveros, and Ping Lacson seek a review of policies governing the energy sector. They cited complaints over sharp increases in electricity bills, alleged meter reading errors, and the handling of consumer complaints. For its part, the Energy Regulatory Commission says it's ready to address those concerns and explain existing consumer protection mechanisms.
Hearing para at least mailahad din namin. Marami pa kaming iba. Gusto din namin gamitin na yun as a platform para at least masabi namin na ito yung mga consumer rights ng mga consumer na hindi alam ng ating mga consumers.
Meralco, however, maintained there were no irregularities in its billing. It clarified the higher bills were mainly driven by more expensive generation charges, along with increased electricity consumption during the recent hot weather.
Upward adjustments sa total bill because of the increase in the generation charge primarily. At yun sa konsumo, hindi naman kasi masyadong nagbago yung consumption pattern. Kung titingnan nila yung graph sa bill nila, karamihan ito sa mga customers. Yung usage nung June vis-a-vis yung usage nung May, ito yung May yung peak demand. Diyan nangyari nung pangangailangan sa kuryente ng hindi lang sa Meralco grid pero buong Luzon grid, and I assume maging sa Visayas at Mindanao, no? So hindi naman masyado nagbago yan. So the consumption talagang tumaas, no? So naramdaman natin ngayong nagdaang 2 buwan na June at July.
Meanwhile, the ERC has extended the suspension of electricity service disconnections for unpaid bills until October. It also directed all distribution utilities to continue offering staggered or deferred payment schemes to help ease the financial burden on consumers. Healthcare professionals are again pressing the government to change its stance on how PhilHealth's funds are used. And joining us tonight to discuss this is Healthcare Professionals Alliance Against COVID-19 convener, Dr. Tony Dans. Good evening and welcome to The Big Story, Dr. Dans.
Good evening, Cess, and thank you for inviting us.
Yeah. You recently held a press conference with an open letter to the Executive Secretary, Ralph Recto. First of all, why Ralph Recto?
Well, it's because the Executive Secretary came out with a public statement that alarmed us, where he used words to this effect. Indigent patients, wala namang binabayaran, panalo sila. So we felt those were discriminatory and a violation of the Universal Healthcare Act. So he was moving for giving higher benefits to citizens who were direct contributors.
Who contribute.
Yes, who pay.
Okay.
Yes.
While those who do not?
They will get less. So it's discriminatory in that sense because the spirit of the law is equity. In fact, it's a violation of the principles in Section 2, which says we should prioritize the needs of the poor.
And so it's also creating that rift between those who contribute and those who do not, who
Yes.
cannot afford to.
Yes.
to contribute.
So it's destroying solidarity because under solidarity, under that principle, the poor are subsidized by the rich, the sick are subsidized by the healthy, the disabled are subsidized by those with no disabilities. So pitting them against each other is against the spirit of the law.
All right. And you believe that this will now be implemented soon because the board of the PhilHealth is about to pass, to vote on this?
Well, they're talking about it. So we're also talking with our PhilHealth board and our PCAO to please hold on because we think such a move would be discriminatory.
Are you not represented in the board as health professionals? Is there representation
oh, yes.
from among your ranks?
Yes, there are physicians and healthcare workers in the board. And we have an open forum with them, so we talk openly about this. But we think the prime mover of this differential payment is Executive Secretary Recto. And so our letter, signed by 70 presidents of professional healthcare worker associations, it's addressed to him.
This is an umbrella organization
Yes,
of
yes.
all these organizations.
Yes.
Right. We have a new health secretary. Does this mean, is it a sign that maybe there's an opening for this, I guess, more equitable
Yes.
look at health insurance and social insurance?
I think there is even, I think regardless of who the Secretary of Health is, we're willing to work with them, regardless of who the President of PhilHealth is or the board members, we're willing to work with them. We've proposed that the solution is to
We'd
give...
like to bring up one of the slides that you brought up, but continue.
Yeah, so
that you
our
brought with
proposed solution in the letter to Secretary Recto is that we should increase benefits for the direct contributors, but we should also do it for the indirect. And the only way we can do that is if we give the lawfully mandated budget of PhilHealth, which this administration has failed to do in the past 4 years.
Right. Pero before we go, okay, what are we showing here? Can you tell us about this particular slide?
Oh, okay. So this slide shows the gray bars. That's the sin tax collections. That's 40%. That's mandated for PhilHealth.
Okay.
The blue bars, the tall on the leftmost, that's what PhilHealth requests every year. The orange bars is what the president gives.
Okay.
So a lot is diverted from PhilHealth to the budget proposed to the president.
So kitang-kita na mas maliit pa sa dapat, so sin taxes, and also the disparity between what should be funded. So how much should be funded?
Well, for 2027, the request of PhilHealth is a budget of 370 billion. You know, the 69 billion that they gave in Congress last year, naubos na yan nung May eh. So, who's bearing the burden? Naubos na yung 69 billion. The people bearing the burden to pay for healthcare is now us, the direct contributors.
Right. Kaya yung direct contributors, bitin din ang nakukuha.
Ang pabigat sa atin, hindi yung mahihirap. Ang pabigat sa atin,
Ang
yung gobyerno na hindi nagbibigay ng sapat na budget.
Okay. Kasi kung saan-saan nila binibigay, unang-una yung MAIFIP, hindi ba pwedeng, magkano ba yung MAIFIP?
Well,
hindi ba pwedeng doon na lang ibigay para maayos ang sistema, hindi ka na humingi ng signature, pumipila sa kung ano-anong opisina?
So pinagtatalunan lagi, saan kukunin ng pera? So first, don't divert it. Di ba, sinabi ng Supreme Court, yung pag-divert ng 60 billion noong 2024, that's not just a fiscal misstep. That's a moral failure, sabi nila. Ginagawa pa rin natin ng paulit-ulit. Katulad ng, imbis na ilagay sa PhilHealth yung money, nilalagay natin sa MyFIP. No? Inaral namin yung MyFIP, magugulat ka. Ang support sa pinakamahirap is 10,000 per admission. Ang support sa pinakamayaman is 30,000 per admission. So tama ba yun? Discretionary kasi yung MyFIP.
Right.
Yung PhilHealth, based on rules ang pag-distribute ng benefits.
Now let's bring up this other slide that shows us the decrease. Tell us more about what we can see here.
So ito yung approved budget ng Congress from 2010 to 2026. No? Kita nyo yung 15, 16, 17, 18th, 19th, 20th Congress. So yung 19th and 20th Congress is under President Marcos. Nakita nyo, biglang bumagsak ang budget for PhilHealth these past 2 Congresses.
So you're
Kasama dyan yung
saying
diversion of funds.
The Duterte administration did well.
Well, relatively, the bar is very low if you compare it to this administration. The bar is very low. And consider that that was more than 6 years ago. So there was less inflation, prices were lower, there were less Filipinos. So that trend should have continued. The budget should be continuously going up instead of the sudden drop in the past 6 years in the current Congress.
Is Executive Secretary Ralph Recto the main culprit here? Do you see his hand in this?
Well, yes, definitely. Why? The provision in the Universal Healthcare Law, which he often cites, Section 9, was his. It says direct contributor should have higher benefits when applicable. So it's a very vague provision inserted during the BICAM. So he's trying to implement that.
And he's in a better position because he's on the board and he's, he signs for the president.
Yeah,
He's the little president.
Yes.
Okay. I understand that you have information on how much the NEP is allocating for PhilHealth.
Yes.
How much?
This is unofficial. But the request of PhilHealth, di ba yung 69 billion last year, ubos na nung May. And they're projecting a huge expense by the end of the year. So for next year, they requested a budget of 370 billion to fulfill all the promises of the current government. Okay, yung mga yakap, gamot, more services in confinement is 370 billion. But we heard, and I'm not sure of this, I hope it's not true. The Office of the President allocated 70 billion to PhilHealth. So,
nawala yung 300.
Nawala yung 300 billion. Paano natin tutuparin yung mga pangako sa taong bayan na better healthcare, no, and better services? How will that happen without
Does
the
the government have that 300 billion?
Oh, we think they do.
Saan po?
There's fiscal space.
Side.
Yung nakita niyo yung graph kanina, yung sin taxes na mandated 40% from tobacco and sugar-sweetened beverages should go to PhilHealth. That's already
That's
about...
in the law.
That's in the law. And it was...
That's how much?
That's about 170 billion unremitted in the past 4 years.
Oh, unremitted in the past 4 years?
Yes.
So they're violating...
Unallocated, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Not allocated by Congress.
Okay. So you're saying, in a way, it's a violation.
Yes.
They are... Can you say violating?
It's a violation of the UHC Act, in our opinion.
What do we have here also in the slides that you brought?
Oh, those are the signatory societies, the 70. We're
The
called
70.
the Healthcare Professional Alliance after COVID. Kasi tapos na yung pandemic.
Kumbaga, you were born during
Yeah, that's when we
COVID.
recognized that when we join hands, that we can affect influence
All right.
policy.
So, you wrote an open letter. How has the executive secretary responded?
Well, so we've had meetings with PhilHealth, the executives, and some members of the board. We've had a meeting with some of the staff of Secretary Recto last week.
So, is there an opening?
We're told there is, but we have no word about when that meeting is. So we're hoping he'll give us a chance to, propose other ways to increase benefits for Filipino people, for the Filipino people, not just for the rich, but for everyone. So we're proposing that if you don't stop diverting, we do have fiscal space to give Filipinos the healthcare that they deserve.
You identified 170 billion unremitted for the past 4 years. What else?
Unallocated. Then there's the
Unallocated.
PubCor and PCSO funds, again, which about 60 billion not allocated. Then there's MyFIP, which we should abandon. People should not have to beg for their healthcare. That's about 50 billion.
I would second that. But, Congress will not agree. Do you have champions in the legislature?
We think so, yes. Yes, we had meetings with Senator Win Gatchalian, who was heading finance last year, with Senator Soto.
Okay, how about in the House of Representatives? Because it emanates from there.
Yeah, it begins there. So
Yeah.
far...
Are you participating in the budget process?
We're participating earlier this year because last year we were scolded. Sabi ni Senator Gatchalian, you can't just tell us or talk to us when it's at the Senate.
Okay.
We're one day away.
Exactly.
You should get involved.
So last year you did not go to the House of Representatives.
Yes.
Why?
Well, I'm a doctor. I don't know about the budget process, but having been educated, we're trying to intervene at the NEP, at the National Expenditure Program. That's from the Office of the President. So this is also an appeal to the President. When you give your SONA, please announce an adequate budget for the people because promises can't implement themselves. It needs some muscle.
Now you're a doctor addressing a sick government.
Yes. The way they pressure us to give equal care to the rich and poor, and we do our best, they should demand the same of themselves. Treat the rich and the poor equally.
All right. Dr. Tony Dans, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Health Professionals Alliance Against COVID or After COVID-19. Convener Dr. Tony Dans there. This is a big story on One News. After the break, our guest reminds us about mindful and sustainable eating. Sustainability is next. Welcome back to The Big Story. The Philippines is home to a wide variety of native crops, heritage ingredients, and traditional food practices. Those are at the heart of Chef Lawrence Castillo's work. As lead organizer of Gulay Pamor, he helps promote local flora, indigenous crops, and the communities that cultivate them. Here we feature initiatives that help communities move forward. Welcome to Sustainability. And joining us this evening is food heritage and sustainability advocate, Chef Lawrence. Tama, Lawrence.
With the letter
Castillo.
O.
So I'll call you Chef Lau.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing these samples. But
Yes.
before we get
Okay,
into
before.
them, tell us how this journey of establishing Gulay Pamor began.
Yes. Actually, we're part of a group called Gulay Na. It's a collective of food advocates advocating for food heritage, plant-based food, and food security. And then we thought of what's the best way to celebrate the biodiversity and the abundance of the Philippines. We have, of course, the fiesta. So, and that's very Filipino. That is a concept that's very dear to our heart, very celebratory.
Right.
So we thought of making a fiesta that celebrates our edible flora. At yun naman talaga yung core ng mga fiesta natin dito sa Pilipinas.
Gulay.
Gulay. Yes.
Okay. So, yun ang bakit nagkaroon ng Gulay Pamor.
Yes.
May fiesta annually?
Yes, actually, hindi lang annually. We started it in 2024. Plano lang namin one event. But then it became a big hit, I guess. So from one fiesta, we did another one in Laguna in just a matter of months.
Okay.
And then until eventually we're circulating it around the Philippines. So we have went to Bicol, to Sagada, and where
So,
else?
I don't know, parang fiesta kasi parang madaming more meat. May mga gulay ba sa fiesta? Talaga ba? O maling fiesta ang napupuntahan ko?
Well, yun yung kasi yun yung gusto naming patampukin.
Okay.
Kasi we have a lot of fiesta highlighting those part of our food. But then again, we have also looked into the traditional ones. No? Kasi ang Pilipinas, kung babalikan natin ng diet ng kanununuan natin talaga, deeply rooted tayo sa pagkain ng gulay. Lalo na kunyari ako, Ilocano.
Totoo ka. I think Ilocos is the blue zone if ever.
Yes.
There was, we were to identify because mahilig talaga sa gulay ang my father's Ilocano. So, how important is what you're doing, you know, discovering or propagating all these, to some Filipinos, and to many siguro, obscure na, medyo hindi nila alam, to creating a sustainable society na yung may ganyang mindset.
Oo. Kasi actually mahalagang natutuwa kami. Me as a food heritage advocate, merong growing interest. No? We know that there's, not just here in the Philippines, but it's a trend now globally.
Right, globally.
Going heritage, going sustainable. But
And
then
going local.
And going local.
Yeah, kung ano yung meron sa komunidad mo, yun ang kainin mo.
Yes, and that's good. Pero there's also a reason why it's becoming a fad or very nostalgic. Kasi nga,
Sana hindi naman fad.
fad or it's a growing interest.
Yeah,
Oo. So, kasi nga nawawala na sila. Siguro yun yung magandang una nating kilanlanin.
Correct.
Nawawala na sila for several reasons. Pagkasira ng environment natin. Of course, there's globalization, there's lack of support in promoting this heritage ingredients. So it gives us a peek to the reasons why are they fading. So doon lumalaki yung conversations over food and what are the other issues that surrounds sa pagkain
I
natin.
can't help but
Smell it.
Okay, we'll go back to that, but you have an event on Saturday. Tell us about
Okay. So last month kasi we just had our Gulay Pamor Sagada second year, which basically highlights the abundance of mushrooms, coffee, and the various native vegetables in Sagada.
Yeah.
So now we're bringing Sagada here in the city
Oh, wow.
this coming Saturday in Makati.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I will be there. I got tickets.
Yes.
And I'm bringing my mother. So, okay. Wow, I didn't know there was this much variety. Ang alam ko lang, button mushroom.
Button mushroom. Actually, yun ang alam natin.
Oo nga eh.
Pag mushroom, nasa delata. O kaya
Ay, hindi naman. Meron namang
merong
nag-grow
fresh.
sa Benguet. Yeah.
Pero
but-
ganito sa Pilipinas,
Wow.
para sa kaalaman ng mga kababayan natin. All these, actually marami pa akong dala doon. These are just a few of our native mushrooms and
In
they call
Sagada.
it damayan in Sagada.
And these are in the wild. They don't
Yes.
grow this. They
Oo.
don't cultivate them.
Yes. Oo.
Kailangan mag-forage ka.
Kailangan mag-forage.
Wow.
Oo.
And they are still plentiful?
Oo. And yun yung gusto naming maintindihan ng mga tao while it's becoming a hit now kasi there's growing interest on mushrooms. But we also need to understand their socio-ecological significance.
Okay.
Para hindi yung parang, mushrooms, masaya mag-pick ng mushrooms. Pero we need to know their value in the environment, their value
to
in the
them,
community.
to the
Yes.
community. So, tell us, how do they cook them? Anong value? Meron bang ritual na ginagamit
So
yan?
actually iba-iba no yung mga locals natin sa Sagada.
Ito talaga bang mukhang uling
Yeah,
siya?
that's why they call it ul-uling. Kasi nga very very dark siya.
Yeah.
This one yung dalakan, it's red yung kanyang cap.
Beautiful.
Oh, and yung fresh niya medyo may spice.
Talaga.
Yes. Itong asan ba to? Itong kaputan when it's fresh, it's colored green.
Very
yung cap
green.
niya, and you can eat it raw, sabi nila. Pero yung isang interesting, ito namang atayan. Yung
Mukhang
sinasabi
atay.
nila, yung sinasabi nilang parang truffles daw.
Oh,
But
really?
it's a very entirely
It does
different.
look like truffle.
It's an entirely different species. Tapos, malasa siya. Very earthy, very nutty. So, iba-iba yung lasa nila. So, iba-iba din yung culinary applications sa kanila.
When they forage every day, paano ba? Pagkakain na lang, lalabas sila sa
Oo.
gubat, gano'n?
Yung isang maganda with kabute, dun mo matututunan din yung maging observant sa iyong weather, surroundings.
Yeah.
Kung kailan umulan, anong bahagi na ng period ng tag-ulan, saan kumulog, saan kumidlat, saan nagkasunog before. Kasi dun nila nalalaman kung kailan sila lalabas at susulpot.
Is that documented? Parang hindi. Are
Well,
you writing a book? You should.
Well, merong mga book, meron ng mga writings about this, pero marami pang mga natutuklasan kaming mga bagong mga kaalaman as we travel, as we forage together with the mushroom foragers of Sagada.
Okay, and I saw that you are making a vegetarian itag.
Yes.
Made of what? Which mushroom is that? It
Well,
looked very big.
ano naman ngayon, there's a plant-based liempo or belly. So, we're using
soybean?
Using tapioca starch, using soy meat, everything plant-based.
Okay.
So we use that and we apply the tradition
same
or
technique.
method of smoking it, as using alnus and the different wood that they use for making etag.
It's really also the type of wood
Yes.
that they used to smoke.
Yes. Oo.
That's where the flavor comes from.
Oo.
Ang yaman talaga ng ating
Yes.
kultura, heritage. No? Iba-iba, depende sa region. Yeah.
Kaya very interesting.
What you're doing goes to the heart of, does it touch on how to propagate, how to preserve, how to, kasi it's one thing to appreciate, but kailangan mong buhayin, kailangan mong itanim,
Yes,
kailangan i-protect yung forest sa Sagada para patuloy na makuha to. So, is that part
actually,
of it?
that's our goal, to pick up the interest. But eventually, know the reasons why we have to protect them. What is their function in our environment? What is their role in our culture? At lalong-lalo na sa ating mga community. Kunyari tayo, ang tingin natin dito parang interesting, exotic. But for the community, it's part of their food. Everyday food nila yan pag panahon ng So, gusto naming ma-discuss natin what affects this abundance kung bakit di na natin sila kilala by now. And hopefully,
Will there be someone from Sagada to speak?
Yes, definitely. We have two speakers from Sagada. Actually, 3 speakers. 2 will be there in person para
Bakit
ipakilala.
pagpunta mo
ang
ng
mga
Sagada,
ito.
hindi yan hinahain sa'yo?
Kasi depende kung anong season. If you're going there in summer, wala kang...
Or feeling nila turista yan, hindi nila alam. Parang ganun, no? They'll
Pwede
keep
din.
their treasures to themselves, maybe.
Siyempre, yun din naman yung mahalaga kasi it's still part of their diet. Source of food nila yan. Kaya, at siyempre, sila din man yung nangangalaga ng kalikasan ng Sagada. And I think it's very rightful that they're the ones who take it first.
Right. Oo naman. Although you know what happens
Yes.
when the tourists come, pwedeng presyohan nila ng...
Exactly.
After your event, baka ganyan ang mangyari.
Yun yung inaanohan namin.
You want to avoid.
Avoid
Yeah.
that. Kasi once the prices of this spikes up, it becomes unavailable or inaccessible
For the locals. And you know, the story about mushrooms is fascinating. They form a network under the earth. And they're really a key part of the environment. So, itong mga tiga-Sagada, meron ba silang shinare na nangangamba na sila na baka mawala na to dahil sa, modernization, etc.?
Yung isang threat di yung tuloy-tuloy na pagkasira ng environment natin. Lalo ngayon, with the advent of conventional farming, syempre, kapag gumamit ka na ng mga pestisidyo at herbicides, maapektuhan na sila.
So Sagada ba may ganon?
Yes, at yan yung kinakatakot namin. Kasi kung dati, very active yung practice ng organic, yung backyard farming. Pero ngayon, pumasok na yung malawakang paggamit ng pesticide.
Tapos, ikwento mo rin naman yung sa ibang regions. I mean,
yes.
in Sagada, there's this. And then when you go to, I don't know, where you last?
Galing din kami ng Sorsogon.
O di ibang-iba naman.
Iba't ibang character naman doon. In Sorsogon, we highlighted, of course, the endemic pili nuts. We highlighted the unod. It's the collective term for their root crops. Kasi mahalaga yun kasi dahil ang Bicol ay laging bagyuhin, yun ang kanilang yun ang kanilang survival food, kumbaga.
So, iba-ibang root crops. Ang alam lang natin, kamote.
So madami pa.
Madami
pa.
iba.
At isa pa yung kanilang gulaman or yung kanilang diverse species ng mga edible seaweeds.
Ng seaweed?
Yes.
In Sorsogon?
In Sorsogon.
Wow.
Yes.
Like how many varieties?
Well, ang maganda ngayon, mukhang ongoing yung maraming mga research ng pagtuklas at marami silang nakikitang bagong mga species or doon natin na-identify ngayon na meron palang ganun sa Sorsogon.
So part of this advocacy is discovering by region. Kailangan iniisa-isa mo yan. Paano?
Well, hindi naman namin, kasi it's already there. Alam ng mga locals yan Siguro ang ginagawa namin ay i-promote and i-weave yung iba't ibang mga initiatives from the academe, from the farmers, from the people's organizations to work together para i-celebrate yung abundance, i-protect itong ating food heritage na ito.
So right now, it's still more, you're on the infancy stage. How would you rate or where in the timeline are you in achieving these lofty goals? Medyo,
wala talaga kaming gawin siyang or i-tour. Wala yan sa unang plano namin. It's just happened na there are a lot of communities volunteering, why not do that here? So every time that there's a region who wants to do it in their location, sige, let's partner.
To identify and celebrate yung mga gulay nila.
Yes.
So it's really plant-based.
It's plant-based.
You don't, pero may karne bang linalagay? Are you vegetarian?
Magulay lang ako. Let's just say, bilang Ilocano.
Okay. Kagaya ng, for instance, sa mga Ilocano, mahilig sila yung maliliit na eggplant, maliit na ampalaya. Mahirap na yan hanapin
dito.
It's because of, I guess, the promotion of all these seeds to farmers rin,
Actually, yan yung isa ding issue natin ngayon, yung the question ng seed sovereignty natin. Kasi ngayon, there are negotiations na kuhain ng malalaking corporation yung pagbabangko at ipagbawal yung traditional na pagbabangko ng seeds.
There's a debate about that.
Yes.
Because they say, pag binigay mo ng seeds na test na, mas malaki yung harvest, resistant to disease, mas mag-earn ang magsasaka. Pero mawawala naman yung heirloom na natin. And if you plant seeds from those fruits or vegetables, hindi na daw maganda yung halaman. Totoo ba yun?
Oo. Well, kumbaga, kailangan
what's the balance? Ano yung balance?
Actually, I don't like to say it as a balance, pero the bottom line of
Say no to those seeds?
Ang mahalaga, kilanlin natin na ang seeds ay dapat bahagi ng commons. Hindi siya dapat maging parang private property. It has to be shared. Kasi
Why? Are the companies making it private property?
Yes. And gusto nilang i-patent yung ilang mga specific species ng crops, etc. Para sila yung magkaroon ng control over dun sa sino yung makakapagtanim nito. So if ever you want
Baka
to...
may, let's say, kung gusto mo
Exactly.
mag-cultivate nito, malaking negosyo to, pwede.
Oo.
I mean, di ba?
That's exactly what
You
the
don't
problem.
want.
Oo. Kasi
Yeah.
that will compromise the biodiversity na. No? At saka, syempre, the integrity of this ingredient.
Yeah, because I guess you can just create a shed, put, di ba, mushroom, I know, the sawdust and whatever. But you don't want that.
Let's keep them wild.
Eh, kung mawawala na yung gubat.
Yun na
Diba?
nga. And yun yung importance nun. Let's keep them wild. To keep them wild, protektahan natin yung ating kagubatan at kabundukan.
Okay, what are the other challenges? Those that want to patent the seeds, what else? It's really, I think, the westernization of our diet.
Yes.
Westernization or the need to speed up life, I guess. Hindi ka nagluluto.
Oo. Lalo na ngayon.
Okay.
Kasi 90s, nag-shift na yung diet ng mga Filipino nung pumasok at naging ang common diet na ay instant food, fast food, noodles.
I find it so ironic na diabetes is a big concern and obesity. And yun ang daming gutom. Bakit ganun?
Kasi ang kinakain na ng mga tao ngayon, very high in salt, very high in sugar, tapos walang sustansya. At ito, kung titingnan mo, ito yung mga highly processed na pagkain.
So ito ang ina-advocate nyo din.
Yes.
Pero kung ikaw ay nakatira sa syudad kagaya dito, paano?
Yan. Kaya mahalaga din na dito, kahit sa Metro Manila, we have to do initiatives in doing gardening. We really have to allocate areas for farming. Pero syempre, hindi naman kaya talaga no, with the life here in Metro Manila. Kaya mahalaga yung pag-connect natin dun sa mga farmers. Punta ka lang sa Rizal, sa San Mateo. Nandiyan yung mga farmers
There should
natin.
be probably a market every Sunday or Saturday of all of them.
Oo.
Ginagawa niyo ba yan?
Yan yung gusto namin, no, mabuhay yung mga Sunday markets sa mga simbahan, sa mga plaza. Dati may mga ganyan pa tayo, pero nawala na ngayon. Kasi ngayon, ang idea, when you want to buy vegetables, you go to the mall, not in the market anymore.
Yeah.
Tapos ngayon, ang nangyayari pa, we have this privatization of malls sa iba't ibang part ng Pilipinas.
So meron na yan. That's the next step. Meron na kayong project na
kaya
weekend
may mga
markets.
yung Gulay Pamor Fiesta, essentially it's
Is
also
that,
a market din.
So it's the cuisine
It's the
and
cuisine
the market.
and the produce.
Okay. So this Saturday, invite everyone, or are you full already?
Well, siguro meron pang konting kasha.
Okay.
So we're inviting everyone to join us on July 18, this coming Saturday, at the New World Hotel Makati. The event is called The Forest Table of Sagada. So we're bringing the flavors and stories of Sagada in the city. We're offering a wide array of traditional and innovative dishes, mushroom ice cream.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, looking forward.
We have the vegan etag.
Yeah.
So we have...
Plus, yung matututunan, you will also learn, not just eat.
Yes, not just eat.
Because there will be lectures, right?
Lectures from our speakers from Sagada.
Okay. From formerly a business administration, what was your job before?
Well, I have been working as a development worker for the longest time in various NGOs.
It's
So
really your
when I
mission.
shifted to culinary, I brought all my advocacies in food.
Thank you so much for spending your time, even if I know you're busy preparing for Saturday. That was Chef Lawrence Castillo joining us for Sustainability. Those are the big stories this Thursday, July 16. I'm Ces Orenia Drilon, kapatid. We are One News, your side all the time. Good night.